I'm Claire, and today I'm going to tell you how my life became the world's most ironic rom-com. Picture this. I'm a 28-year-old IT specialist, spending my days neck-deep in code, fixing printers, and explaining to my coworkers for the millionth time how to clear their browser cache. But here's the twist. When I'm not untangling tech disasters, I'm an aspiring event planner. Yeah, that's right. I switch from debugging to dealing with bridezillas and flower arrangements. I'm chasing a dream, one carefully curated party at a time. Now, if you're thinking, wow, Claire, that's a lot to juggle, you're not wrong. But buckle up, because this is where my story gets really complicated. There's one more tiny detail. I've been hopelessly in love with my high school best friend Luke since, well, forever. But like any good rom-com, it gets better. Or worse. Depends on how you look at it. See, Luke doesn't know about my feelings. I've buried them deep, real deep, like under a mountain of uncompiled code, deep. But that was fine. We'd grown up together, stayed close through college, and though life took us in different directions, I was cool with being the best friend who always secretly held out hope. You know, the classic, will they ever realize I'm their soulmate? Kind of thing. And then it happened. It was just another Tuesday. I was at work, hunched over my desk, fighting with a particularly nasty bit of code that refused to cooperate. My desk, cluttered with coffee cups and post-it notes of half-baked ideas, looked like a battlefield. The sound of keyboards clattering, phones ringing, and tech support cries for help echoed around me when my phone buzzed. I glanced down and saw Luke's name flashing on the screen, and my heart immediately skipped a beat, the way it always does when he calls. I answered, trying to keep it casual. "Hey, stranger." "Claire?" Luke's voice chimed in, bright and cheerful as always. "I've got amazing news and a huge favor to ask." My brain went into overdrive. Amazing news? Huge favor? Could it be? Was Luke moving back to town? Quitting that fancy city job? And realizing that I've been right here all along? Maybe, just maybe, my wildest dreams were about to come true. I'm engaged. Yep, my heart dropped into my stomach, and for a solid 5 seconds, I forgot how to breathe. Engaged? I could feel my entire world tilt on its axis. The daydream, the fantasy that maybe Luke would one day look at me and say, "It's you, Claire," vanished in a puff of smoke. But of course, I couldn't let that show. I managed to stammer out a half-hearted, "Wow, congratulations." My voice did this weird squeaky thing that I prayed Luke didn't notice, because it was taking every ounce of strength I had to keep it together. But Luke wasn't done yet. Nope, life wasn't about to let me off the hook that easily. "So, here's the favor," Luke continued, oblivious to the emotional car wreck happening inside my head. "Will you be my wedding planner? I know it's your side gig, but you're the only one I trust to make it perfect." In that moment, I could practically hear the universe laughing at me. It was the kind of laugh that says, "Oh, you thought things couldn't get worse? Hold my coffee." Now, you'd think that after 28 years on this planet, I'd have learned how to say no. But when it comes to Luke, I have the backbone of a jellyfish. So before my brain could catch up with my mouth, I heard myself saying, "Of course, I'd love to." And just like that, I found myself in the most emotionally torturous situation imaginable, planning the wedding of the person I've been in love with for years to someone else. The next few months were a whirlwind of stress, sleepless nights, and emotional whiplash. By day, I was troubleshooting network problems and pretending I cared about printer malfunctions. By night, I was swimming in wedding plans. I spent my weekends knee-deep in flower arrangements, color swatches, and Pinterest boards. I became a wedding planning machine, running on caffeine and sheer denial. Every task I had to do felt like a new level of personal torment. Cake tasting with Luke and his fiancée, Jack? Sure, why not? Nothing says fun like watching the love of your life feed cupcakes to someone else. Venue scouting for the most romantic locations? I'll just be over here, silently wishing it was our wedding instead. The worst part? Luke insisted on keeping his wedding outfit a surprise from Jack, which meant, guess who got to be his personal shopping assistant? Yep, me. Picture this. It's a gorgeous Saturday afternoon. And instead of enjoying my rare day off, I'm sitting in a bridal boutique, watching Luke twirl around in front of a mirror, looking like he just stepped out of a fairy tale. My heart? Oh, it was being crushed into tiny pieces, shredded, taped back together. then shredded again. But I played my part. I plastered on a smile, complimented the outfits, and gave my honest opinions. All the while, I was screaming inside. I'd become a master at hiding my feelings, so much so that sometimes I even convinced myself I was okay. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. Fast forward to 2 weeks before the wedding. We were at the final venue walkthrough, and I was in full wedding planner mode, barking orders at caterers and florists like a drill sergeant. My phone kept buzzing with work emergencies, but I ignored them. This was my time to prove that I could balance my IT job and my event planning dream. I was determined to make this wedding flawless, even if it was tearing me apart inside. And then, just as I was mentally checking off my to-do list, Luke pulled me aside, looking more serious than I'd ever seen him. "Can we talk?" Those 3 little words that instantly send a wave of panic through your system. I could feel the tension radiating off Luke as we found a quiet corner away from the chaos. "I don't think I can go through with the wedding," Luke blurted out, and I swear my brain short-circuited. "What?" was all I could manage to say, my mind scrambling to process what was happening. Luke took a deep breath, and the words came tumbling out in a rush. "It's just spending all this time with you, planning everything. It made me realize something. I think I'm in love with you, Claire. I always have been. I was just too scared to admit it." For a moment, I thought I'd fallen asleep at my desk back at work, and this was all some elaborate, caffeine-induced dream. Was this really happening? After all these years, Luke was confessing his feelings now, 2 weeks before his wedding. "Say something," Luke whispered, his eyes searching mine for a reaction. This was it. The moment I had dreamed about for years, but real life, it's not a rom-com. I stepped back, my heart pounding in my chest. "Luke, I've loved you since we were 16. You have no idea how many times I've imagined hearing you say that. But you're engaged to Jack, and Jack's a good person who doesn't deserve this." Luke's face crumpled. "So, you don't want to be with me?" "It's not that simple," I said, my voice soft but firm. "You're caught up in wedding emotions. If we do this, we'll always wonder if it was real or just cold feet. You owe it to yourself and to Jack to figure that out before you make any decisions." Luke looked at me, tears brimming in his eyes, and for the first time, I saw the cracks in the perfect picture I'd painted of him. Maybe we'd both been holding on to a fantasy that wasn't real. The silence between us was heavy. Finally, Luke nodded, wiping away a tear. "You're right. God, I've been such an idiot. I'm so sorry, Claire." I smiled, though it felt hollow. "It's okay. We've all been idiots in love at some point." "So, what do we do now?" Luke asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I took a deep breath. "You need to talk to Jack. Be honest about your feelings. And I need to step down as your wedding planner." The following days were a blur. Luke and Jack postponed the wedding to figure things out. I handed off my planning duties to another coordinator and tried to move on, even as the pitying looks from the vendors reminded me of the emotional mess I'd left behind. 6 months later, Luke and Jack officially called it off. They realized they were on different paths, and honestly, it was for the best. Luke and we're still figuring out what our friendship looks like now. It's different, but maybe that's okay. As for me, I threw myself back into my IT career, but I didn't give up on event planning. In fact, I landed a huge corporate gig.